The call will be recorded.
Hey, woman.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Oh, tired. I didn't sleep well last night, so I'm a little on the frazzled side today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I am, let me see. Well, today's Wednesday. I said it's almost Friday, but I mean, technically it's almost Friday.
Right? Is it close to Friday as we want to get right now?
Yes.
Your hair looks really good. It looks really happy hair today.
I have been doing something a little different. I've been putting a little coconut oil and, just doing my thing. I released a little bit of negativity last week, and I think it's been good for my looks.
Good. I've been, well, this isn't the one. I'll be right back. Keep talking. You hear her? She's not talking, y'all.
She left us alone. Let's tell secrets. Okay, everyone, this is what I want you to know about Arwen. In her panty drawer, in the top drawer, behind the red lacy thong.
You're in the wrong drawer. That's my husband's. He's going to beat me. I've been using this. It's for home use. Spritz each room beginning at the back of the dwelling, may be used for as a body spray. It kills negative energy and its byproducts on contact.
I love that. Yeah, it's
and Florida water.
Sometimes you need a little oomph.
The Florida water I'm just in love with. Dorothy told me she makes her own, right? So, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I move this.
Hi y'all. I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and this is Ember Raven of the Big Fat Witch.
Hello, we're doing Witchy Women Wednesday, and oh my gosh, it really is Wednesday this time.
Score! Sometimes we circle back to it.
Yay!
I've also got some stuff to share with people. It's from the organicwitch.com. I've got lavender and cedarwood atlas from Morocco. I'm not really familiar with what cedarwood lavender, of course, I know. And it says Bulgaria on this, but
nice.
Super strong essential oils. I mean, it's like dilute before use, steam distilled. So, yeah, pretty cool stuff. What you been up to, honey?
Well, let me see. I have been working like a mad woman. I received a lot of messages from people over the last couple of weeks because they're like, girl, what's going on? You've been on my mind. I think I'm sending some stuff out into the universe because I've had a lot of people checking in because I have been a little bit absent, a little more absent than usual. Work has been really, really, really insane. Mm-hmm. And so I have been doing a lot of recharging. But you know what? I'm witching my way through it. That's what we do, right?
Absolutely. I'm actually looking at getting a job again. Doing a day job. So we'll see. We're thinking we'd like a little extra vacation money, and that'll help. So
well, I will tell you, speaking of money, so we talked, I think it wasn't last time, but maybe the time before last, about doing our prosperity spells, and let me just tell you, girl, sometimes they work really, really quick. I did a prosperity spell on the moon. And today, I had a very, very nice freelance job fall into my lap. And it is a really nice chunk of change. Like, it will be enough to pay for a vacation. So, and it was like one of the simplest prosperity. It was just a road opener for money. And, I mean, it worked instantly. So, thank you, whoever is driving the boat.
Thank you. Absolutely. Well, I put out 6 resumes last night. I've already had 2 calls and set up 2 interviews.
Oh, girl, wow.
I mean, one was like at 8:20 this morning, and one was at 4:58 this afternoon. It's like, okay,
Nice.
Yeah, nice. They're going to be those. I'm really looking for like no brainer, no stress. Go to work, come home, and not have to worry.
Leave it at the job.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Well, my best to you, girl, and I support that fully. Are you going to be able to telecommute, or are you going to have to go in?
Probably have to go in at first. One of them has work from home potential, and the other one's an outside sales shop. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I love it. Like, one of the things I said in my cover letter was, I'm that odd bird that actually likes cold calling. So, I don't mind
Well,
somebody's door.
technically, Arwen, with you being psychic, technically you never cold call.
Speaking of, I got to do, my friend Dakota Cassidy, she's a pretty big name author. She does fun paranormals, hysterical paranormals. Like, her sense of humor, you'll be laughing your ass off in her books. And she hit me up on Facebook and asked me to help her out. She has a cozy mystery she's working on, and there's a scene where there's a tarot spread involved. And I can't tell you much more than that. And I said, well, let me go do this. And so I did a little short video for her and sent it to her via email. And she's like, how did you know blah, blah, blah? I didn't tell you that. I said, well, I like to read for characters. And I do. It's one of the fun things. I read for people's characters to kind of help them with their writing and flesh out their characters. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Hey,
before we move on, I want to tell people, I don't know if you've pitched your hero's journey. I don't know if you've talked about that or if that's even still available. Is that still available?
The hero's journey? Absolutely.
Okay. I want to stop real quick. You guys, I'm a sometimes writer of various things, and I contacted Arwen a little while back and was kind of talking to her about writing projects. And, sometimes when you're a creative, you need a little bit of a spur in the right direction. And I totally spaced that Arwen has an e-course that's like, it's to help you in your writing process. And really, you probably could use it in a lot of different artistic type processes. But it has been phenomenal. You get a daily email. It has been amazing. And even if like, some days I'm like, oh, I don't really have time to do this right now. But then I'll find as I'm sitting at my job after having read the email, because they come in nice and early in the morning, which is awesome, I find myself thinking about the prompt for that day. And sometimes when I go home at night, even if I just pick my phone up and just do a little voice recording to remind myself of something that it spurred, it's been great. It's been coming in now for a week or two, and it's just been amazing to kind of really focus me in that direction. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're enjoying it.
I'm loving it. And please put a link in the down bar. I'm going to actually do a video and talk a little more about that on my channel, because I really want people to know that it's out there. That is a hidden gem. It's amazing.
I used to teach that online as a workshop, and it got to be too overwhelming because I'd have 30 and 40 people in the class at one time, and my commitment to the class was, I will respond to everybody's. If you do the work and you send it in, I'm going to respond to it. And I discovered that if you do that, you don't have a life for about 6 weeks. So
yeah.
So I decided I'd put it as an e-course, and we have a private Facebook group, and I put stuff out there, and I put weird stuff out there like, draw a card, is your character a yoga person or an MMA person? And
right.
And found out that my swordswoman is a yoga person. Who knew?
Well, I love that. One of the things that I've always hated about doing intensive workshops, like going somewhere for a weekend, and I love those type of retreats, but I'm really, I'm kind of cat-like when it comes to my schedule. I kind of do things when I want to do them. And I love, you can get an email and have it available to you. I can go back and read that when I'm ready. I can use it when I'm ready. I love that. I love that you can kind of form it to how it's going to work for you. So amazing. It's a hidden gem. It totally is.
Cool. Well, thank you. I've had good results with it from people, and so it's been a lot of fun. But I've got a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think about using, and this is our big topic for the night, and I'm not springing this on Ember, y'all. I already suggested the topic. She said go for it. What do you think about using animal parts?
I'm ready.
Are those crow feathers?
Well, these are raven feathers and crow feathers. So we had, and I'll tell this story, I'll keep it short. We had a crow that passed away on our property. And this was last year, and it was pretty shortly after Mama Morgan insisted that I would be working with her. And we found the crow, and it had passed away, and I just thought, man. A couple of the feathers had already come out, and I thought, let's go ahead and give him a proper burial, and I'm going to keep these gifts right here, and these will be for me. And I actually put that on her altar because I did feel like, everybody thinks, oh, there's a sign from my goddess. I really was struggling at the time, though. Is this who I'm supposed to be working with?
Right.
Do I really, I feel like she's been showing up a lot, and I'm really not feeling her. And then when that happened, I was like, okay, I gotcha. I feel, working with animal parts has been a controversial topic at times, in not only just the YouTube community, but in the witch community. I've seen a lot of different writings on it, and some people are all about it, and some people think that it's barbaric as shit. I personally use animal parts in my practice. I do not do sacrifice, nor would I ever. But if an animal has already passed away, I have zero qualms about picking the animal up and giving it a proper burial. And if it leaves me a talon, or if it leaves me a feather, or if it leaves me a scale, or if there's a shedding or something that I can pick up, I feel that that's a way for me to further honor that animal.
Yeah.
That raven, these feathers that I have, they're in a place of honor and respect. They're used in a respectful manner, and I actually have used that to deepen my knowledge. I went back and read up on crows and ravens and listened to their calls, and I actually pay more attention to them now that I have a piece of them in my home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was thinking about it, and let me, so I was thinking about that, and I got into it with somebody once about how using any animal part in a ritual was horrific, brutal, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't occur to me at the time to ask them if they picked up shells on the seashore. This is a sand dollar. It was a living creature.
Yes.
Right? I mean, that's why I don't know if you can see the beautiful trees that it creates. And I've got shells, I've got feathers. Well, I had a feather, and I found it in a closet along with several rubber bands and hair pieces that apparently the door is just about that big, so they escaped under it from the, But, and I do use them. I use, I have antlers. I have an antler right here. I don't know if you can see it up there, but it's actually holding my athame.
Right.
Yeah, and so I wonder what the beef is, you'll pardon the pun, about using, because in hoodoo, there's chicken feet that's used, and it's not like they're running out and chopping the feet off a live chicken.
No, and I'm going to tell you, I've got two issues. So I can understand where people are coming from, absolutely, when they are averse to using animal parts. I get it. I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I don't eat, I really try my best not to eat animal products.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of unavoidable if you like cheese, because, cheese comes from animal products. And I ain't eating no vegan cheese because it's fucking nasty.
Thank you.
And I would like to shit again. So, that was my out loud voice. I'm sorry. But something that I really have a hard time wrapping my head around is some of the argument around using animal parts come from people who have no problem cutting a rose or picking up a pine needle or capturing water out of a stream. And, those are also living entities.
Yeah.
And we also don't have the right to have dominion over them. However, those are gifts that are provided of this earth, just like animals are, just like human beings are. And I think that, me personally, I feel like everything that is alive has an energy, whether it be a rose, a roach, or a rat, or an ember honey raven. We all have an energy, and just because a rose cannot speak to us in a language we understand, it doesn't make it any less valuable than a human being, in my opinion. Now, that's real hippy-dippy trippy, but I still think that it's a living being. So I'm not a fan of going out. A flower doesn't necessarily scream when you cut it, but I wouldn't necessarily go out and cut a tree down for ritual. I may try to find one that has already fallen, branches that have already fallen. But I would try not to disturb things that are actually alive, especially something that if I cut something off of it or remove something off of it could cause it harm in its own life cycle.
Yeah, and I think that there's a real piece of that because, Dr. Emoto, it's Masaru Emoto, he just recently died.
Hang on a second. Your internet is so choppy right now. Am I clear to you?
You are.
Okay, maybe it's just my connection. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, when I blow you up, you're a little pixelated, so it may be one of those nights we may be having bad kung fu movie.
This is where I go.
Oh no, then you did freeze. That's what's really sad.
Yeah.
Because it actually did freeze. Like, oh, that's scary. But I think because Dr. Yamamoto did the water crystals. He's the one that put water, and then, one of them they played rock music. One of them they played classical. One of them they I love you. One of them I hate you. Fuck you. And there's a deck. I keep looking back here because it did used to live right here, but God knows in my world, who knows where they've landed. But the crystals changed.
Yes.
Based on, and they did several experiments to make sure this was real. So, water has an emotional reaction. Does that make it alive? I think so.
Right.
The Native Americans, and I don't know which tribe, but they would, part of what they did when they harvested was they sacrificed back to the land. In England, there's the whole, one of their sacrifices to the land was to go fuck in the furrows. But you're looking around like, did she just say fuck in the furrows?
Nope, girl, I'm right there with you.
Get your mind out of that furrow. But, so what is it that makes us, and I think one of the things that bothers me is that there's a holier than thou attitude that comes across.
Yes.
I eat meat. In fact, I just had a delicious sausage that was so good I had to ask the chef where they got it from because it was damn fine. And I'm getting some deer sausage this weekend. A friend of mine's father makes it, and they brought me some. So do I feel guilty? No, I do not. I give thanks for the animal that gave its life. Right. Do I like our current system of how we process animals? No, not at all. And you know
what? This is a beautiful example, Arwen, of, the holier than thou idea. I'm a vegetarian, but I have literally zero judgment on you eating a sausage if that's what you want. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like your relationship to what you eat is none of my business. And just like, my relationship with food is nobody else's business. Now, I know that there are some vegetarians and vegans who are incredibly militant about the nobody should be eating meat thing. Mm-hmm. And, I do respect that on a lot of levels. I get the purpose of that. I get that, they want some awareness for the life of the animal. And I agree with you. Our system is broken when it comes to food production and how we treat the animals that go into the food production process. But I was a meat eater, and I might be a meat eater again. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to be really conscious about where I get my meat and what the process is behind it. And I'm going to try to buy free range if I can and all those things. But I think that if you do say a thanks or a prayer or whatever feels right to you, and you're honoring your own body with the body of another animal, I personally don't have a problem with it. And I think that You're not going out and killing something for the hell of it. You're eating it. You're eating it in a respectful manner. You're nourishing yourself with it, and you're saying thank you.
Yeah. I've had in my past history living in a lesbian feminist community that had separatist overtones.
Yes.
The food you eat becomes very important because it's tied to the patriarchy, and there's a whole political thing going on there. I got into a discussion / argument with somebody. This was way back, God, it had to be 88, 89, 1 or 2 days ago. And she's arguing with me. I mean, arguing with me about why I shouldn't eat meat, why it's wrong, and really passionate about it. And I had to take a step back and say, are you wearing leather sneakers?
Exactly.
Because
that's the thing. That is that holier than thou. And that happens with meat. It happens with what kind of car you drive. It happens with, you can point to anything. I will never forget someone finger waggling one time because, there's this whole controversy about where diamonds come from. Diamonds are often dug with slave labor in Africa, and it's a horrible, there's a horrible process around it. And I got into an argument one time with someone who was like, you shouldn't ever wear a diamond because that was dug with slave labor and you're a terrible person. And that person was arguing with me across the internet, of course. And I'm like, are you typing on a laptop? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, well, the strontium that is used inside of your laptop also comes out of slave labor in Africa. So please do not deem to tell me what I need to be doing with myself when you yourself need to check your own shit. And that's where I remind myself, everything we do, everything is tied to the oppression of something. Whether it be the clothes you wear, the food you eat, the laptop you used, everything is oppressive to something or someone. That's where we just have to be conscious. Yeah. We just have to be as respectful as possible and as conscious as we can, and we have to make changes where we can and where we're able. Mm-hmm. But I do think, I wish there was more of a conversation around the use of animal parts in this community, where people were more willing to discuss why they think it's wrong without resorting to the finger waggling, because I would be open to hearing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree, because there is a shame and blame going on that I see, and and there are channels out there that they're not my cup of tea, sure, but am I going to point at my heathen friends and tell them they are wrong because they're doing their blot out of a sheep's horn or a cow's horn? No. Not my business. Like you said, I have no business in their celebration and their religious choices. If people come across and they want to tell my hoodoo friends, that they can't use chicken beaks and rat tails or whatever, I'm, just being silly here, but why does that, if I can do that to you, if I can say to you, Ember, those feathers should be buried and put back in the earth, you should not own them, shame on you.
Right.
Who's going to step up for me when a Christian comes to me and chastises me for how I practice and because I don't believe in their God?
Right, and and I will, this is a great time to address this too. It's actually illegal to own feathers from birds of prey in America, and most of North America, I think. Hawks, owls, eagles, anything like that, it's illegal. Now,
unless you're on a tribal roll. If you're on a tribal roll, it's okay.
Yes, and that's the thing. That's the only exception. If you're in a tribal, religious, I believe Native Americans may own one feather of some type. I'm not positive on that. And if anybody is First Nations or Native American, feel free to chime. Love to know. Mm-hmm. And I understand why, because I think that the government, and believe me, I'm no fan of, big brother government, but I think the government really was trying to keep a lid on people killing eagles or making trophies out of birds of prey, because a lot of them are endangered, and I respect the shit out of that.
Yeah.
But if a person were to have found an owl dead on the side of the road, and if that person were to have gotten some feathers from that owl and then given the owl a proper burial, I personally would not have a problem with that, especially if that person wanted to keep a feather so that they could remember the life of that owl and remember the moment in which they buried that owl and received a blessing or asked for a blessing for that owl. Yeah. But I don't know, I've seen people, and I've seen people use really interesting things. I've seen people use turtle shells as offering bowls. Mm-hmm. Beaks and claws and hair, and I have a bag of my Gracie's hair in here. When we lost her, I had her hairbrush from her doggy hairbrush, and I just couldn't get rid of it. Yeah. So I put her hairbrush with her hair still in it in a little baggie, and I may be gross, but I go in there every now and then and I open the bag and I sniff it. I can still smell her on it. Yeah. And that's mine. That's my personal choice. And someone may say, oh, that's disgusting, you shouldn't do that. But if you don't want to do that, then don't.
Right.
But that's for me, And
I want people to think about, when you're telling somebody else what they can and can't do, check yourself on your things about abortion, right? Are you pro, anti? Do you feel like it's your body? Do I have the right to tell you I'm anti-abortion? And I think you should be too.
You said something real interesting.
I'm not anti-abortion, just before anybody jumps my shit over it. I'm pro-choice. I'm actually anti-abortion as birth control.
Yes, me too.
But I am pro-choice. So
I am pro-choice, but I agree with you. I am not, I do not agree with using abortion as a means of birth control. I think that should be a last resort. It would be for me. But I also don't believe that I have the right to have dominion over someone else's body.
Yeah.
It's none of my business. You made me have a little thought process around something. So let me ask you this, because this might be a little uncomfortable. So we often use animal parts in our practice. What about people parts? So let me show you something. And if anybody does not want to see anything human related, look away. So let me get this. I'm going to get two things. Okay. So how do we feel about this? I'm going to show the gross thing. I have two things that may be considered gross or shocking, so be ready. This is a set of dentures that belong to an actual person. And these are teeth that came out of actual people. And these teeth all came out of different people. They were friends of mine that saved their teeth for me, or teeth that I acquired from different places. So how would you feel about, so for instance, I'll talk about these dentures. This person passed away, and when they passed away, the nursing home just threw their dentures in the trash. And this was their extra set. I didn't know people had a spare set of teeth, but apparently they do. They were buried with one, and then there's this set. My wife, who worked at this nursing home for years and years and years, knew this person and was completely, and my wife was very sensitive, and she really loves some old people, and she worked with geriatric patients for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. My wife was horrified that they would throw away this woman's teeth. She thought that was so disrespectful, and she went and she jumped into the dumpster and dug through all the trash and pulled this woman's teeth out and brought them and said, let's clean these up, and we're gonna keep these. Yeah. Because she felt like that was so disrespectful. And I guess on one hand you could be like, well, you throw people's contact lenses away, why are teeth different? But my wife was just like, I really just feel like that's disrespectful. Why don't we just keep these? We'll give them a place of honor. And every time we see these, we're going to remember that person and how she used to snap her teeth and be like, hey, how you doing? So that's one little instance. And then I've got other teeth. Now, there are some actual spells that I have seen in a lot of different, I've got 3 different books that actually mention using human teeth in spells.
Cool.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? And, we can talk about cremated remains. Bones, people sometimes have limbs amputated. You can actually request that the bones be removed from the tissue, and you can get those. Those are your property. People save their gallstones. People save kidney stones. How do you feel about that?
Well, in the Jewish tradition, you need to be buried with what you came into the world with. So if you have tonsils removed, if you have teeth removed, you keep them, and you're buried with them. So it's an important part of their faith. For me, and it's interesting that you said that because my father-in-law is currently in my garage. A part of it. Another part of him is up at deer camp where we spread his ashes. So, and we thought about, we're going to take him. We've lost each other.
The call will be recorded.
That was interesting.
Apparently, my father-in-law thought, you girls need to shut up.
I guess so.
Wow.
Okay, then.
I like that. But no, I would not use my father-in-law in a ritual. Now, I might ask, because I want to be cremated, and I might ask that when I'm cremated, I might say, I would like, certain friends to have my ashes if they want them to use in a ritual.
Right.
I can see doing that. Would I personally? Not sure. Not sure. It's a little icky for me to think about handling somebody else's teeth. I don't much like touching my own teeth. So,
right.
But you think about it, and there's the, which saint is it? Somebody has somebody's finger bone, St. Joseph maybe, but there's a saint's finger bone floating out there in the reliquary world. So,
yes.
Who am I to say that I wouldn't do it?
I actually have some,
go ahead.
I actually have some earrings made out of human finger bones.
Girl, if the internet shuts down again, we know.
Then we're going to know, exactly. So, have you had your pets cremated?
No. Absolutely not. I'm absolutely emphatically against doing that to myself. You remember Foolish. Did you get to meet Foolish?
I did.
They brought him home, and I pet sat for them, and the other dog's there, and I just kept looking over there at Foolish. I can't do it. I cannot do it because I am so emotional about losing my babies. I cannot fathom bringing them home in a box. I just can't.
Right.
And it seems weird because I have such a deep connection to them that I would just relinquish their body that way. And
Right.
most people I know don't. Most people bring their babies home some way or another. I know you
Yeah,
brought Gracie home.
I I do. I have Gracie. I have a whole altar for her, and I have her up on my shelf. And then we have Tori, Vinny, and Shayna. And I'm going to tell everybody out in Cyberland a little secret about a lot of lesbians have entire shelves of all of their pets because our friend Julie in New York, her bedroom looks like a crematorium. She's got boxes and boxes of all of her pets, and
Yeah.
that's what makes her feel. That's what makes her feel connected. And again, this is another beautiful example of people who do it differently. I want my animals with me in their box, and Arwen says, no, I'm good with that. So this is another example of we all can do it differently and respectfully. We can still do it the way we want to and respect what other people are doing.
Our dachshund friends in Austin, they have a space in their closet. And
Yes.
and one of their dogs, after she passed away, one of the dogs that was very attached to her would go in and sleep in there. So it was
Yes.
a comfort to them as well as anybody else.
Yes, very much so.
And I completely respect people that do that. I have a Scorpio moon. So my relationship with death is really different in that I'm like, what's gone is gone. They're gone. I've got their memories, their spirit, but I don't need the tangible. So, but doing the ashes up at deer camp was amazing. I have to tell you, I don't know if I told you this or not, when we were up at his stand, from where he hunted from, we're walking, and I was walking with one of his camp buddies. And for people that are not familiar with camp, it's not like Boy Scout or Girl Scout or Girl Guide or Boy Guide camp. When you say I'm going to camp, that means you're going out the weekend, you're going to be drinking, you're going to be hanging out with your buddies. You might be doing a little hunting.
Yep.
Maybe. But camp's a real different thing in the South. But we went up to camp, and we went up to his spot where he had his stand. And we're walking, and I look down, and there's a shed antler. It's a little two-pointer, one side. And I picked it up, and I was like, wow, Eddie gave me this. I know that.
Right.
And I have antlers that are not naturally shed, also from my father-in-law. And I'm going to use them. I just don't know how yet. I have not figured that out yet.
I was privileged enough to meet him, you guys.
That's right.
Arwen's husband's father. And I guess when was that, last year?
2 years ago in this coming May.
It was 2 years ago, and he was a really fantastic human being. But he was one of those people that when you meet him, instantly likable, had a beautiful smile, and I thought, okay, I see where his son gets his good looks out now. I mean, the man was a gorgeous human being.
Yeah, and he was, and he was a funny man, and I liked him a lot. I really did. But no, I don't think I would sprinkle his ashes with his wishes. We knew that deer camp would be where he wanted to go, and we brought some of him home to do somewhere else with him because we knew that he also wanted to go there. You and I have a common friend, a little man named Photographer, and he has said that he wants to be cremated, and these are his wishes. Put me in dime baggies, hand me out, and drop me off someplace you think it may be a pretty photo that I'd like. So
he wants to be a party favor.
Basically. Yeah, and I love it. I think that's such a cool, and it's a gift to us as his friends, assuming that I don't precede him in death. It's a gift to us to say, hey, I've got Will with me. I'm going to go, let's see where would he like. Let's go up to Santa Fe and put him in one of the canyons, But it's
that's a beautiful example of using an actual person's parts in a releasing ritual, because that's really what that is a releasing ritual. It's a way for us to be able to say goodbye. It's a formal goodbye, and that's one of the reasons, when we had Gracie cremated, we have her in her box, but I do have my, is it up here? It's in my purse. My mother-in-law sent me a beautiful pewter locket that had a tiny vial in it that I can wear around my neck, or I can put it in my purse. And I put just a tiniest dab of Gracie's ashes in it, and I closed it up. And so I now can carry her with me anywhere I go. That is very comforting to me. And, whether that's an ongoing ritual or not, but it is magic in a way. It is a way for me to have a little piece of her with me without carrying her big box. She was a big girl. Her box is heavy.
Yeah, she was not a dainty darling. She packed it on, and she was a good girl.
She was a table back.
I love me some Gracie, but when she came up on you on the couch, you knew you'd been come up on.
Yes.
You made this sound.
Yes, she was a big girl. You could literally serve a picnic off of her back.
She was a good dog, though. It's weird because when I think of Foolish, because I helped raise Foolish. I got him as a puppy. My friend couldn't keep him, so I actually had him for about 9 months to a year before I got him to his actual owner. So I was really, really attached to the dog. And I talked to him when I was there, because Foo was a good dog. Foo was just a big old.
He was a baby, a big baby.
About 140 pounds, a big baby.
Yeah.
But I think when I think about that, and think about ritual, and because funerals are not for the dead, they're for the living, they're for us that are left behind, and so why not do what speaks to you? And the same in a ritual with an animal part. Why not do what speaks to you? Is it any different to want to keep? I had a cat named Carmen who was my familiar. She was my darling, darling girl. And I wonder if I had said to them when they, I would have said, of anything that I would have wanted of that cat, I would have wanted her skull.
Right.
Because she was constantly beating me with it. She was an intelligent cat. And I might have kept that.
Right.
And how would that compare to people who say, I would keep my animal's ashes. Would you keep your animal's skull?
I'm kind of wondering, as you're talking, I'm kind of wondering if some of the folks who are adverse to using animal parts in magic, I'm wondering if any of them have the cremated remains of any of their relatives, if they have anything, if they've kept a hairbrush, if they maybe have a set of dentures, if they have, some people, I know some people have the pacemakers out of their parents or whatever. I'm wondering if that feels different to them than an animal. Maybe it's because they knew the person intimately or were related to them or what have you. I think at the end of the day, Arwen, honestly, I would not participate personally in a sacrificial type of element. That would not be for me. Mm-hmm. I actually do have some pretty strong feelings around that, but again, that's not part of my practice. That doesn't mean I get to dictate what other people do. But I do hope that anyone who does participate in something like that is extremely aware, and extremely reverent, and has put a lot of thought into that, because that taking a life of any kind, that's serious. That's serious. Yeah. But I don't know. I just feel like when you find a seashell or a turtle shell, or we found a skull on our property of a coyote that had been deceased long enough that the skull was nice and clean already. I feel like when you find things like that, I feel like they're little gifts from nature, from the Earth Mother. They're just little offerings,
That's cool about the skull. I would have absolutely kept that.
Yeah.
I have a calling to stop when I see there are coyotes a lot around here, coy dogs and coyotes, and I want to stop and gather hair. There's badgers. Nice. I see fox. I haven't started doing it yet because I hesitate for a couple of reasons. One, if it's hot, it's going to be gross. Just say it right out, and it's going to be gross. There are porcupines. I would love to get some porcupine quills.
Yes.
But I wonder if the people who are so adamantly against, using chicken feet, using feathers, using whatever, I wonder if their brain is automatically going to, well, if Arwen's using a coyote foot on her altar, she must have killed that coyote.
Right.
And I really think that maybe that's the connection, and we don't think, because when I see an animal that's dead on the side of the road, I have a blessing and releasing ritual. And it's a real quick thing, but if you're driving with me, watch my finger, because it's always doing there's a little symbol I do when I see a dead animal. And it's to bless and release and let it go into the light. And in my mind, if I have time, I'm visualizing the animal whole up and moving into the light, moving across the barrier.
Right.
And it's very important to me, and I've done it for years. And it comes from Ed Fitch, Rites of the Crystal Well, or Rites from the Crystal Well, I think. It's my, basically, drill down on a ritual he put in that book. So, and I'm not sure why I've been called recently to gather, but I've been told I need to start doing this, and it's driving me insane.
You can actually find, let me grab something else real quick, and I'll ask people what they think of this. So, here is another thing. I'm not a meat eater, but my wife is. So, here is something for people to think about. Again, caution, caution. So, this is my little bowl full of wishbones. I have saved, when I do roasted chickens or turkeys, for instance, these wishbones are the turkey ones. As you can see, these are really big, okay? And then I have a whole bunch of chicken wishbones that are really small. And so I save these because you can use these. You can leave them whole if you would like to keep your dreams kind of whole, or you can break them during ritual if you choose to do so for whatever purpose. And here's the really funny thing. I started saving these because I wanted to use one in a ritual, and I went to buy one to see if I could find one, and a wishbone, a turkey wishbone, these things are like $10. And I thought, well, crap, I could get one for free if I'm already going to cook a turkey. So
yeah, that's crazy. I just think about it. I've thrown away a good $100.
Yeah, just save your wishbones, people. This is like a little cheap tip. If you get one of those $5 chickens from Walmart, save your wishbone out of it. These are great for magical uses. Mm-hmm. But this is not a chicken that was killed for its wishbone. This is a byproduct of a chicken that was going to be eaten anyway. It was raised and purchased because somebody wanted to eat it. And this was my way of saying, hey, there's something usable there that I'm going to actually take and honor that chicken with. Now, here's something, again, I actually do clean wing bones out of the chicken. I have a whole pile of chicken wing bones, and I drill little holes in them and hang them up on fish line, and make little wind chimes out of them and make little things out of them, and I use them in ritual. And sometimes, if you've ever heard the term throwing the bones, I throw chicken bones. Anyway.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from people, if they think that that's not okay, or they don't do that or whatever. I would like to open that conversation up. Maybe we can have that in Witchyversity. Maybe people can make a response video, and talk about why they don't think animal parts should be used. And my question is, if you don't think animal parts should be used in ritual, do you have leather couches? Do you wear leather shoes? Where is your line of demarcation between the usage of an animal for decorative purposes versus ritual purposes? Yeah. I'm super interested.
I like that, and I think that's a really good place to end, and I will caveat respectfully.
Yes.
Be respectful. Well, I guess you don't have to be respectful. There again, I'm telling you how to do your video responses to this. But I too would love to see, and I welcome you. Please link it. Drop your link down in the comments. I don't, you're not advertising. I don't care. Put your link down there and let other people, click and go. And let's have a conversation about it, because, what does it mean to have, I have dove feathers and sparrow feathers all over my property, everywhere, because, and we had a hawk eating a dove in the road, apparently. My husband saw it. I didn't get to see it. So, if I had gone out and picked up dove feathers from the hawk's kill, good, bad, what?
Yeah, and I guess that does add another layer, because if one animal has taken the life of another, is it then okay for us to pick up whatever's left? I really, and I think people can be respectful. I've actually seen several pieces of commentary across YouTube from people who were very respectful and said, this is what I think. I actually would not choose to do that for X, Y, and Z reason, and I think we can totally do that. But
Yeah.
as usual, if someone's a butthole, they can just get stepping.
Show me your ass, I hand it back to you.
Yes, or we're just gonna kick it.
We can play hockey.
But I'm glad we talked about this topic. This has been great. And I hope that next time we chat, maybe we can talk about funerals and death and how magic intertwines in that. I'd be really interested to hear some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'd like it, because there's I'll hold back that thought before we because that'll just make us go vroom. But yeah, well, thanks, Becky. I'm so glad you were here and that we could chat.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll see more videos from you. I've been interviewing people like crazy. So.
Oh my gosh, I saw your interview with Jessica from Witchbox and Joanna DeVoe, and I totally squealed. Oh my God.
She's gorgeous. She's such a pretty, pretty woman.
She is. She's beautiful, and she makes beautiful things. Oh my gosh, that was an amazing interview. Hi, Jessica.
I got to chat with Deborah Blake this morning, and the video didn't record, and there was about 10 minutes of an hour-long conversation.
Oh my gosh.
And I love Deborah. I mean, she's hysterically funny. We had a great time chatting. She's already graciously agreed to try to set it up again for next week, so I'm really excited about that, because I've got some interviews coming up that I'm pretty jazzed about. Names that people will recognize. I got to talk to Robert Place, who's a big tarot name. So, yay me!
Yay! Well, girl, as always, it's been wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and put a little blurb up on my channel and direct people over here. So let me know when the video's up, and I'll get her done.
I will, sweetie. I got to stitch them together and put it up. But seek joy, Ember.
Yes, I will be seeking joy, and many blessings to you, and to you, and you, and you, and you.
And you get a blessing, and you get a blessing, and you get a blessing.
And you get a blessing, and you get one.
Oprah, of Wicca, no, of whatever, paganism. Bye.
Bye, girl.